Welcome to, or welcome back to, the Agatha May Detective Agency. And a special welcome to all of our new subscribers. I am so glad you're here. I'm Agatha May, and this video is the first in a new series, the Rose Petal Murder. This case was a recommendation from a viewer, and it is one of those cases that I would classify as a doozy. October 13th, 2021, was a quiet, overcast morning in Greer, South Carolina. In that quietness, a hooded figure rode a bicycle into the canebrake neighborhood, entered the home of Christina Parcell, and brutally murdered her. Greer is a small city of a little over 35,000 residents and sits in northern South Carolina in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It started as a railroad town in the downtown historic district that grew around the original train station. Greer Station is still the heart of the city. The downtown district has been revitalized, and it's the perfect place to visit for tourists who want to feel as though they've stepped back in time, but without all the tuberculosis and lead paint. Christina was a technician at Foothills Veterinary Hospital in Greenville, South Carolina, which is about 25 minutes from Greer. She was a 41-year-old single mother of her young daughter. At the time of her death, Christina was in an ongoing contentious custody battle with her ex-partner and father of her daughter, 63-year-old John Mello. Christina was engaged to Bradley Post, who is now 68 years old. He had tried calling Christina multiple times on that seemingly quiet October morning. When his phone calls went unanswered, he drove to Christina's house to check on her. When he entered the house, he saw Christina lying in the living room floor. She had been stabbed 31 times in the neck and face. Her body had been dragged into the living room, and rose petals were scattered around her body. According to her co-workers, Christina was well-liked, compassionate, even-tempered, and had made a lot of friends through her job. Her co-workers spoke of how well she worked with the animals and how much they appreciated her care of them. They were in shock when they learned that she had been murdered. But it would come out later that Christina might have had another side to her that was the opposite of the wholesome, compassionate veterinary tech that her co-workers knew. Detectives began investigating the crime scene and located an SD card, a cell phone, a baggie with white powder in it. Now don't judge, maybe it was cornstarch she borrowed from the neighbor. 2 envelopes with $500 cash in each of them, a single-shot firearm, and paperwork from the custody battle. Later, the baggie contents were tested, and it was definitely not cornstarch. Less than a week later, Christina's fiancé, Bradley Post, was arrested, but it wasn't for Christina's murder. He was arrested in a child pornography investigation that was directly related to evidence found at the murder scene. Investigators discovered numerous explicit photos and videos of minors on his phone. He is now facing 5 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor in the 1st degree, 1 count of sexual exploitation of a minor in the 3rd degree, 1 count of 3rd-degree criminal sexual content with a minor, and 1 count of buggery. Now, buggery sounds like a made-up charge, but it's actually what South Carolina still calls sodomy. The law's language is quite archaic. Whoever shall commit the abominable crime of buggery, whether with mankind or with beast, shall on conviction be guilty of felony and shall be imprisoned in the penitentiary for 5 years or shall pay a fine of not less than $500 or both at the discretion of the court. In Bradley's case, the buggery was the beast variety. As a vet tech, Christina often took dogs home to foster them while they recuperated. I don't want to think what I'm thinking right now. Christina's ex-partner, John Mello, was found to be out of the country on the day of her death, so he was quickly ruled out as a suspect. So who would want to murder Christina, and why in such a horrific manner? On November 3rd, 2021, not even a month after Christina's murder, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office had a warrant for the arrest of a man who was seemingly not connected to Christina in any way. Zachary David Hughes, age 32, was arrested for her murder. At the time the warrant was issued, Zachary was spending the night in Detroit so he could catch a plane to Europe the next day. He wasn't trying to flee the country, but had just landed a job as a pianist on a cruise line. Somehow, Zachary was notified that he had a warrant out for his arrest and then rented a car and drove back to Greenville to turn himself in. So why did Zachary turn himself in instead of becoming the next European superstar cruise ship pianist? He was either sure the police didn't have any evidence against him, or he's completely loony. But how did detectives link Zachary to the murder? Well, a neighbor's Ring doorbell caught him in his black hoodie walking into Christina's house, and another neighbor's camera caught him leaving the neighborhood on a bicycle. A flock camera, the kind that catches license plates, later caught an image of Zachary's truck with a bicycle in the back that resembled the bicycle on the Ring camera. The real evidence, though, was that his DNA was found under Christina's fingernails. At first glance, there was no connection between Zachary and Christina. Even his attorneys originally stated that there wasn't a link between the two. However, the murder was deliberate, targeted, extremely personal, and violent, which would indicate that there was a strong connection between the two. Zachary is originally from Los Osos, California, and is the son of David and Melinda Hughes. Zachary has a younger brother, Eli. David and Melinda moved their family across the country to Virginia. In 2005, the couple adopted 5 children from Russia. Because why have only 2 kids when you can have 7? The Russian children were all siblings and had suffered abuse in their home country. They had residual psychological effects from the abuse, and the Hugheses claimed they knew nothing about it before adopting them. The aftermath of the siblings' trauma caused stress in the Hughes family. Allegedly, the siblings didn't adapt well to living with the Hughes family or even to life in America. David and Melinda had moved the family to a farm, and both of them stayed home to take care of their now 7 children. Unfortunately, the farm didn't generate enough money to sustain the family, so David and Melinda had to find other employment. This left Zachary to step into the role of caregiver for the younger children. I don't know that Zachary relished his new role. He had a natural gift of playing the piano, and he used music to escape from a life of having to be an adult while he was still a teenager. Zachary was in fact such a gifted pianist that in 2010 he applied to the Juilliard School in New York and was not only accepted but also received several scholarships. Zachary appeared to thrive while studying at Juilliard. He then attended the University of Tennessee to pursue a master's degree in piano performance. While there, he volunteered to join the Marines. 3 weeks into his Marine training, Zachary suffered stress fractures in both legs and he was forced to quit the Marines. While he was recovering from his fractures, a friend contacted him with an offer to play at the inaugural performance of a high-end piano that had recently been purchased by the Greenville Unitarian Universalist Church in Greenville, South Carolina. Zachary accepted, and once he made it to Greenville, he decided to stay. The church helped Zachary achieve his dream of performing all 32 of Beethoven's sonatas and agreed to share the donations received at each performance. Their performances were halted when the pandemic hit in 2020, and Zachary began earning money by offering virtual piano lessons. So how did he end up being connected to Christina? The answer is John Mello, the man who Christina was in a custody battle with. John Mello, who also lived in Greenville, described himself as a music producer. Although how he and Zachary met isn't known, it's generally thought that it was through the music industry. Zachary worked for John from 2020 to 2021, cleaning his house and performing various household tasks. In 2020, John Mello had taken his and Christina's daughter to Italy, without the court's permission, and this led to him being arrested on October 21st, 2021, only 8 days after Christina's death, for criminal charges of custodial interference. Those charges have since been dropped, and John is suing everyone he can that was involved in him being arrested. In September of 2023, new charges were filed against John. Both he and Zachary were charged with harassment and criminal conspiracy for allegedly mailing nude photos of Christina to quite a number of local residents and businesses. These people all seem to be pretty awful. When John went to jail for the custodial interference charge, he listed Zachary as a contact so they would be able to talk while he was incarcerated. At this point, the investigators didn't have his DNA yet, but this gave them the connection they needed between Zachary and Christina. I'm sure the investigators would have eventually made the connection between them, but John helped speed things up for them. Thanks, John, you moron. When Zachary was arrested, his cell phone was confiscated, and even though it was locked and he wouldn't give the passcode, investigators were able to retrieve some information from it. Some of the information was conversations between him and John Mello on WhatsApp. One conversation was John telling Zachary that he had Christina's new phone number, and he wanted Zachary to harass the ish out of her. He didn't really use the word ish. Investigators were also able to determine that Zachary's phone had been placed in airplane mode twice on the day of Christina's murder. Without the passcode to his phone, investigators were only able to retrieve limited information. This led to the prosecuting attorney filing a motion to force Hughes to give the passcode, but he refused. He later offered various passcodes that all turned out to be incorrect. His excuse was that he just couldn't remember. Well, Zach, I think you're a big fat liar. Prosecutors used unlocking software on Zachary's phone, and it still wasn't unlocked until February 8th of 2023. It took almost 700,000 attempts to crack the code. As of what has been reported at this point, even with the passcode, investigators have been unable to access any more conversations between John and Zachary. So let's back up to those charges filed against Christina's fiancé Bradley Post of having photos and videos of children on his phone. On March 17th of 2022, a lawsuit was filed against Bradley Post and the estate of Christina Parcell by a mother who is alleging that her daughter was one of the children in the photos and videos found on Bradley's phone. According to the lawsuit, the daughter was often in the care of Christina Parcell, and the mother states that Christina was part of the child abuse too. On August 23rd of 2022, another lawsuit was filed against Bradley Post and the estate of Christina Parcell that accuses them of assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, and invasion of privacy that harmed a juvenile relative in Parcell's care. Some sources are reporting that the juvenile relative is Christina's own daughter. The lawsuit was filed by Allison Sutherland, who is the guardian ad litem of the juvenile referred to in the case. Allison claims that Christina and Bradley engaged in illegal and sexually explicit acts for the purpose of exploiting the juvenile, and that they disseminated illegal and sexually explicit acts for the purpose of exploiting the juvenile, and that they disseminated sexually explicit videos and photographs of the juvenile for personal gain. Some sources are reporting that there were even photos of Christina with her daughter, the kind of photos that will land you in prison. So we have a murder victim whose estate is named in a lawsuit for explicit photos of children. Her fiancé is also named in that lawsuit and is currently awaiting trial for criminal charges for the photos and videos found on his phone. The victim's ex-partner and father of her child has filed lawsuits for wrongful arrest and has since been charged with harassment and criminal conspiracy for mailing nude photos of the murder victim to people. And then the guy charged with her murder, who is connected to the ex-partner of the murder victim, has also been charged with harassment and criminal conspiracy for mailing the photos. At this point in the case, the only things I'm cheering for is Christina's daughter, the prosecutors, and those poor dogs that were around Bradley. Prosecutors have stated that Zachary's murder trial will not begin until sometime in 2025. Zachary is still proclaiming his innocence. So Zachary's been charged with her murder, but if he did do it, why? Was it at the behest of John Mello? Did John tell Zachary about the child abuse and Zachary took it upon himself to murder Christina? Did Zachary and Christina have a little pan of sauciness simmering on the side burner and something went wrong with the affair? Or is Zachary innocent and he was set up to take the blame? I suppose it is possible to plant DNA under someone's fingernails. I'll bet you're thinking that there can't possibly be any more twists and turns in this case. But there are, because it seems as though South Carolina just can't be happy with a simple little murder. There always has to be way more to it. We'll look at more of these twists and turns in the second installment of the Rose Petal Murders. All of the previously mentioned people are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, no matter how super gross they might all seem. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, join, comment, and give us a little woot woot, as this helps my channel grow. Until next time, stay safe and be happy.